questions we wrestle with as Christians about who God is, how do we live out our faith, what is the Bible, what is the truth of the Bible, what are we supposed to believe, how are we supposed to live. There are really big, deep questions that we ask each other, that we ask God, that we wrestle with ourselves. And that's why the Cultivate podcast exists, to help us go deeper in our understanding of who God is, His Word, and the way that He's called us to live. Enough of that. We are still in the middle of the parables, and we did the parable of the debtors and the tax collector and the Pharisee the last couple of weeks. And we are now going to move on to the parable of the Good Samaritan, which again is going to be very, very helpful for us. He's going to set the context. This is going to be in part of an interaction that Jesus is having with one of the Pharisees. And they're gonna.
He talks to them all the time.
He talks to them all the time, and he is the one that he is. Again, I think it's important for us. He is trying to undo their wrong perspective about who God is, what salvation is like, what is the nature of the law. He's trying to undo that and prepare them for what we would just call a Christian theology of accepting Christ, the resurrection, the crucifixion, all those things. And so in order for him to really do that well, he's not only going to have to talk to the people,
who
was the ones who were, you're going to have to take down the authorities a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the people who know. Actually, they don't know. And let me just.
Yeah.
All right.
But he waited so long to start. That's a whole other episode, but.
What do you mean?
Like you could have started at 20.
I've got a theory about that, and it involves that I think that Joseph had passed away and he was waiting for his younger brothers to get of age where they could take care of mom.
Okay.
We can talk about that another time.
Okay.
that would be a podcast series, and it would really I would just call it Weird Questions That Abigail Has. Just like almost like an apologetics episode, but not like you're getting a non-Christian. Here's the top 10 objections that people have. 10 things that non-Christians are like. Here, 10 just things about the Bible that Abigail just doesn't quite understand or has real questions about. And it would be the most hodgepodgey collection.
It'd be so scattered.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm down. I'm down. All right, Luke chapter 10, verse 25. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law, he replied. How do you read it? He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Okay? Pause right here. There are several times all throughout the scriptures where Jesus has some sort of interaction with somebody where these two laws kind of get put above everything else. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're asking, this person's asking for this reason. This person's asking for this reason. Sometimes it's Jesus who is the one that gives the answer. Here's the answer where someone else gives the answer. And so then some people are like, oh, the Bible contradicts itself. I'm sure in 3 years of teaching, probably this conversation came up 50 times.
Okay.
I mean, and so they're just different recordings of it. So
wait, did they call him teacher, Jesus teacher, or he's asking someone else?
No, he is talking to Jesus, and it is a sign of respect, but I would say it is a sign of sarcastic respect.
Okay.
Hey, teacher.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And just kind of like, hey, you who thinks you know things, let me ask you a question I know you won't be able to answer, and then everybody will know we shouldn't call you teacher anymore.
Okay. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Okay.
A sarcastic acknowledgement of deference.
Who he thinks he is.
Yeah. Teacher.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about this?
Yeah.
If you know so much.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So then he gives what we would call the Great Commandments. Love God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Verse 28, Jesus' response. You have answered correctly, Jesus replied. Do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself. So he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor?
That is a really good question.
Well, it's an interesting response because, he said, this guy says, hey, so what do you have to do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus is like, I don't know, you tell me. You love God and love your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, okay. Well, we're in agreement on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shouldn't I felt like the conversation should end at that point.
If
What
you're
do you,
not a question asker.
What do you think, Jesus? Well, Jesus like, well, what do you think? Well, I think this. I agree with you. High five?
Well, I feel like that's how a guy would approach this conversation as compared to a girl.
Well, these are two guys.
I know, but that's very boyfriend to assume that's where it stops.
No, but I'm just saying it's like it says he needs to justify himself.
Yeah.
He's the one that gave this
asked.
answer.
Yeah.
This is what I think that you need to do. And Jesus says, yeah, we'll do that and you'll be great. And like, so there's this moment where it's like, I guess there's a moment of reflection for the Pharisee guy where he's like, well, I don't know that I'm doing that.
So who's
depending on how you define neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
I love God because I follow the law. I guess whether or not I'm following, I guess there's a moment of like almost like unsurprising or unnecessary question mark reflection on the part of the Pharisee here.
Mm-hmm.
Like as like because like in the story of the rich young ruler, you know he's like, hey, you just need to follow the law, and the guy's like, well, and the guy's like, I've done all this, thanks, and could have left. Yeah, but he was like, I've done all these, but something's right. And so there's a moment of reflection here for the Pharisee where it's like, if that really is it, as opposed to following all of the laws rigidly, like we talked, maybe I'm not missing something. Maybe I'm not all the way there, but maybe I am.
So who's your neighbor?
Who's my neighbor?
Yeah.
Like, so the question then, the implicit question there is, who am I required to love? And so this is the context in which Jesus tells this fairly familiar story. And I say that because the phrase Good Samaritan, everybody talks about it, and they don't, I don't even know
there's a Samaritan
how many
house
people even know that comes from the Bible. What'd you say?
There's a Samaritan house here in Fayetteville.
Yeah. And there's a group of people that go camp, like people on camper, like the Good Samaritan Club or whatever, right? In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have. Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise.
So we have a guy who got robbed, a Levite, a Samaritan.
Yes.
Those are all the 3 main characters.
The guy who got robbed, a Levite, a priest.
Oh, I was putting those together. Okay.
Well, there's two of them.
Yeah.
There's 2.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the Samaritan.
Yep.
Okay.
What stands out to you?
I don't know what a Samaritan is.
Great. Let's take them in order. We know what a man being robbed is.
Yes.
Right? And they're going from Jerusalem to Jericho, and that was a known dangerous rocky kind of. You're going from up here to down here, and so there was kind of this mountain path that you had to go on, and it was fairly well known for being a dangerous place.
Okay.
And so it was a dangerous place to be traveling. So a guy gets knocked out and robbed, which would not have been unusual. That would not have been a shocking part of the
Okay.
story. A guy went to a dangerous place and got hurt.
Sure.
And so then the first person that comes by is a priest, and the second one is a Levite. So we'll just take them in order. So Levite is one of the tribes of Israel.
Right.
And they performed all of the religious functions for the nation.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially all of the Levites were the people who kind of took care of the temple, and the priests came from there. And so a priest is a Levite.
Okay.
But a priest is like an elite Levite, like the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so
are all priests Levites?
All priests are Levites, but not all Levites are priests.
Okay.
Saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so this priest, the person that you would expect to, like, he's at the top of the chain spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got,
because it'd be like bad for him to touch a robbed person.
I mean, maybe he's dead,
mm-hmm.
so you can't touch a dead body. I'm a priest. I've got priestly things to do.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be contaminated. I would be contaminated, and then, but based on all the ritual things, I would
mm-hmm.
probably I'd have to spend a week in isolation and do this and do this and do this.
Yikes.
And all these and it's gross, it's unclean, and so he just goes on by.
Yeah.
And so then a Levite who has less ceremonial requirements for cleanliness to do his functions.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's still a pretty good guy and doesn't really have that excuse at the level that the priest might.
Mm-hmm.
He does the same thing.
Yeah.
So we've got these two guys where, I mean, for lack of a better word, to be like the pastor came by and then the youth pastor came by.
Okay.
Right? Like
mm-hmm.
you have, the pastor's really busy and he's got all these things you need to do. But I mean, the youth pastor, come on. You just right there. So it's not that one is better than the other,
mm-hmm.
that neither one of them have a real good excuse for going by, but this is the reason that they would have had.
Okay.
And so then in a normal telling of that story, it would have been, and then random Joe the carpenter came by.
Okay.
And he helped them.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the idea is like, so just these elite people wouldn't do it, but good old Joe did. Joe
mm-hmm.
the plumber came by and, just mm-hmm. some sort of folksy, working class guy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He says a Samaritan. And so...
Is it from Samaria?
Samaria is a region of Israel. And where that comes from, its title, there's only ways to say this is going to sound offensive, but they would have, a pure Jew would have thought of a Samaritan as a traitor and a half-breed.
Half-breed.
So there was a time when Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom, when the Southern Kingdom gets wiped out by Assyria, Assyrians, in order to try to assimilate the Northern Kingdom, moved their people into the Northern Kingdom, and then they began to intermarry with the Jewish people.
Okay.
Which would have been forbidden according to Jewish law.
Mm-hmm.
A Jew should not marry a non-Jew.
Right.
And so the result of that is what was then now called
the
Samaritans.
Okay.
So these were the results of unfaithful people.
Mm-hmm.
So they were traitors and marrying in with the captors, and that makes you, again, I guess we'll go back to Harry Potter. Half-blood.
Yeah.
Right? You're a half-blood,
mm-hmm.
which is not preferable.
Right.
That's bad. And so
were they identifiable? Where you could be like, oh, that's Samaritan.
I would imagine so. I don't know that I can say that with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that all the time when I hear about historical groups of people that we used to hate the Irish. And I'm like, can you see it?
Right.
We used to hate the Italians. I'm like, maybe they were more
Which one's an Italian?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We just live in a different world. But I'm sure to them.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But story-wise, it stuck out that he used Samaritan.
Yes. I don't want to. I don't want to even create me trying to say it would be like this. I mean, it would only be
Sure.
it would only be offensive.
Yeah.
But just imagine someone religiously and politically
Mm-hmm.
that you thought was a traitor
Mm-hmm.
and were intermarrying with unsavory people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are historical examples of that.
Yes.
So we'll just pick one and go with it.
Yeah.
And so these would have been reprehensible people,
Mm-hmm.
and they would have known that they were
viewed as that.
Viewed that way. And so then you would expect the Samaritan to walk by and go,
I shouldn't have. Yeah.
haha, wonder if he's got anything else on him, right?
Uh-huh.
That's what he would have that sort of he's not a good person, one, and two, why would he care?
Mm-hmm.
And so not only does he help him, but he goes above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And so the telling of the story, hey, so who is my neighbor? Like,
your enemy?
Well, the normal telling of the story is the guy on the side of the road is your neighbor, and people like you are walking past him all the time. And if you want to love your neighbor, you should stop and help this guy.
Right.
Which is why Joe the plumber went in and helped the guy, and that your neighbor is the one who is the hurting one that needs the help, and people like you, for your ritualistic reasons, won't do that. That's your neighbor, the guy hurt on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, in what seems like a very normal telling of that, like, who's my neighbor? The guy on the side of the road. He comes in out of left field with, and then the worst person you can possibly imagine strolls up and does all the right things. And then Jesus reframes the question with him. Who do you think was a neighbor?
Okay.
He's asking, who is my neighbor? And then Jesus responds by telling the story that you think is going one way, where the answer is
actually
the guy on the side of the road is your neighbor. Love people like that. He comes in out of nowhere, brings in a villain to be the good guy, and says, I've actually got a different question for you. Who was being a neighbor?
Mm-hmm. The Samaritan.
And he doesn't even say Samaritan. The one who had mercy on him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jesus says, go and do likewise. And so he ends it by basically saying, so the guy on the side of the road, those are the people that you are supposed to love. And then while we're at it, I just really attacked some of your cultural biases,
mm-hmm.
which then the implication then beyond that is, and the Samaritans too, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It is not just the hurting who you're definitely ignoring because of your rituals,
mm-hmm. but also
your racial and political biases
mm-hmm.
are, you are failing at this in so many ways. All I had to do was just tell this one story to expose all the different ways you are failing at loving your neighbor.
Mm-hmm. That, like, the neighbor isn't just the guy on the ground, it's also the guy that you think shouldn't touch you.
So not only is the guy that you need to be helping, that's your neighbor who you're supposed to help, but while we're at it, why don't you just also reconsider all the ways that you're actually hating people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to make him the good guy and make you have to just kind of not only acknowledge the way that you are ignoring hurting people, and regular common people are the ones that are having to do it. Not only am I going to expose that, but while we're at it, I'm going to talk about these people that you have just been maligning for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show you how far away from love your neighbor you are.
Yeah.
You're so far away from love your neighbor that your question, I call into question the way that you ask your question.
Right.
Why are you even asking that question? because you think that you can get away with it because if you're loving just the right people.
Mhm.
I'm going to show you all sorts of ways that you are not loving people well.
So essentially, everyone
is the answer. And here's a couple of great examples of how
you're not doing that.
You are failing miserably right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before we started this, before we started recording a few episodes ago, and I said this one was coming up, you said somebody somebody brought this up and they told me that we're reading it wrong, and now I don't even know. So I keep waiting for you to drop your question.
Were trying to say that the Samaritan is you. Which, as we started doing this, I'm like, I used to just read parables to figure out which one was me, but that's not really the best way to read them. But they were saying that we were identifying with the person on the side of the road as me, but really you are the Samaritan.
No, in the context of this, of who Jesus is telling this story to,
mm-hmm.
You are the Levite that passes by on the side of the road.
Yeah.
You are the one who, for whatever reason, ignores hurt right in front of you. Mm-hmm. That's who you are. You should be like the Samaritan,
mm-hmm.
but you're not. You're actually the priest that passed by on the side of the road. That's who you are. You should be the Samaritan. And while we're at it, me even bringing that up, so it's like, I'm trying to get you to not identify with the priest, but to identify with this person, and this person, based on their racial and cultural history, is reprehensible to you.
Mm-hmm.
So again, in the 1950s, someone who was the product of an interracial marriage,
mm-hmm.
right? It's like, the Southern Baptist preacher went by, and then the Methodist preacher walked by, and then this person who was a child of an interracial marriage in the 1950s
mm-hmm.
comes by. It's like, you're this guy, you're the Southern Baptist pastor, you're the Methodist pastor, you're the whatever. Like you're this guy, ignoring him, but you should be being more like
the kid of the interracial,
right? And you're like, I can't even. I was struggling enough with you getting onto me for being a priest who walks past people,
mm-hmm.
but now you're making the hero someone that that should have their own water fountains.
Yeah,
and I can't with that. I can't with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is just. Let me tell you this too. Just like, for me, one of the most impactful things about this story for me is the number of times on a Sunday morning when I will go to sit at a restaurant like McDonald's or Brahms or whatever, and just sit and just kind of think, and then I've got to get, and then at some point I got to get up and I got to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
The number of times when I've gotten up to then come to church where it just seemed like mathematically it would not have happened a lot. Well, it's raining outside, and then there is someone currently who's experiencing homelessness walking
mm-hmm.
in the rain. And I'm like, and I look at that and I think,
it's your busiest day of the week.
I got to get to church. I mean, we got a meeting here in a few minutes. And I'm like, if there is any direct application of the story of the Good Samaritan, is a pastor cannot look at someone who is currently in need and say, but I've got church things to do.
Right.
And so I think God, that's just an interesting thing that God has done to me. And so I've given percentage wise, most of the rides that I've given to people who needed a ride are almost always Sunday mornings at 8:30
when you need to be here.
When I need to be here. Like, so, but
yeah.
And again, I usually don't tell that story to be like, and guess what I did today, guys? I gave somebody who was in need of a ride instead of coming to church early. I'm like, but it's like, it's just one of these things that this story is very front of mind for me as someone who very closely identifies with the priest and the Levite.
Like being able to identify how much you could think would disqualify you from needing to do that in that moment. But
I'm important. I'm busy. I have things to do that are very, very important to God,
good,
and would prevent me from being able to do this other good thing. But I've got this other good thing that I need to do. And Jesus kind of exposing, like, you doing your ritualistic religious thing does not compare to helping someone who's about to die.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has deeply impacted me, and just kind of the way that I think about my Sunday mornings, for sure. And there have been times, there've been more times than that, where I'm just sitting there and I'll see some people. I'm like, okay, God, if this is another person that I need to help out today, it is probably for me when my radar is most in tune with,
mm-hmm.
is this someone that God has put on my path on purpose for me to help? Because I don't want my sense of how important my Sunday morning job is
Mm-hmm.
to prevent me from meeting a need that God is calling me to meet in that moment.
Yeah. Well, and he is talking to the Pharisees again, right?
Yeah. Well, it says a teacher of the law, so most likely
something like that.
A Pharisee or Pharisee adjacent person.
Yeah. And it just makes you think of, this was and it may have even been in the series before this, where I had asked you at some point, were the Pharisees missional? And that wasn't necessarily on their mind, I guess.
Right.
And so not only is it expanding who your neighbor is, but it's also the fact that he said he who showed mercy. He's not just saying these 3 different cultures are your neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
be like these whatever, but he's like just simply who shows mercy.
Yeah, and ritualistic purity is their top priority.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's undoing that with, again, the thing like we talked about last episode when you freaked out when I said straining out gnats and swallowing camels. But the idea that you could, well, I didn't touch any blood this week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but you didn't help a guy who was dying on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's like that's kind of an example of it. You have all these, you think you're prioritizing the right things by not touching blood all week, but you've missed out on compassion.
Mm-hmm.
You actually, if you're tolerating way worse things in service of lesser things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think more than most parables, there are just layers upon layers of what Jesus is trying to teach. And we try to say he's really just kind of focusing in on this one thing. And if there is a one thing, it is your ritualistic idea of what makes you good in the eyes of God is wrong a million ways.
Yeah.
I mean, just
and then
all of it, all of these ways.
Yeah.
You put purity over compassion.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're too good to help, and you're racist.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it also kind of reminds me, I don't know if this is a parable or I'm assuming it's later in the Gospels, but whenever he's talking about he who tends to these is like tending to me. Like if you welcome me and you clothe me and all that stuff, that would be like welcoming me and clothing me.
Right.
That like, this seems like a hint towards introducing them of like, this is really what God's heart is for, showing compassion and mercy to those who are lost.
Yeah.
And you're totally missing that.
You're missing it. You believe that your religious rites and acts are more important than just good old fashioned love and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point at which he says, and you guys should stop worshiping or having priests or teaching.
Right.
There's no diminishing of the thing as much as there is a reprioritizing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, it would be like stepping over a poor person who was sleeping underneath our awning
to get in here
get in here to worship. Well, get in. Yeah, by all means, come worship.
Bring them with you.
Yeah, but maybe that he needs a meal. He needs a doctor. He needs a place to stay. Do something. And again, which is something that we've experienced. There have been times here where it's like there have been people who have slept outside our church, even on the weekends, and they kind of presents as kind of like what is the most important thing happening right now? Is it our service, or is this person? And we just want to be known as people who care more about people in need than our services. Again, not to say that we shouldn't have service. Well, you should stop services altogether and just drive around and find people to feed. No, I mean, the services are important, but you should never step over someone who's dying to get to this thing that you've decided is more important because it has some ritualistic value to you. Yeah. Because now I've lost track of why it is I'm trying to keep myself ritualistically pure in the first place. Because I want to love and honor God. Great. You should love and honor God.
In all.
And here's someone who's about to die. Do that also. Maybe do that first. And then also do the other. Because that's, again, to finish out the passage when he's talking about straining out gnats. He says, you should continue to do the first things. Don't stop doing those things, but you should be doing these things more. Yeah. You should be doing them. You should be doing them both, is the way that Jesus ends that. He's not saying, as long as you're nice to people now, you don't have to tithe. Right. That's not what he's saying. As long as you show compassion, you don't have to worry about any of these other things. You should do one without neglecting the other. Yeah. Okay, so help that guy. Yeah. And then do whatever it is you need to do to get back right where you can perform your priestly duties.
That you should also be.
Right. Keep doing what you're doing, but do whatever you do not neglect this. And also, you're racist. Yeah. I mean, it really is such a wild, air quotes, unnecessary addition to the story. Yeah. That really is just like, and while we're at it, I don't want you to think that all you need to do is start being nicer to poor and hurting people to get to loving your neighbor well. I don't want you to accidentally think that I'm saying that. You are bad in this, and the levels to which you are bad at this are beyond. And so, so I think the purpose of that is not just simply to say that they have, unnecessary racial biases. It's to say you are not just a do better talk away from loving your neighbor well. Yeah. The whole framing of your question and the whole way that you view people, some people as worthy or unworthy, is so broken that you are miles away from love your neighbor. And you're not just doing a little better away from being pleasing to God. Yeah. You got a ways to go. So anyways, how many of these have we done now?
Like a gajillion.
I've lost track. Maybe 10, 11?
I think like the one that is going out this week is 9 or 10.
Okay.
So we're far in.
But we doubled up on a couple of them. So anyways, thank you as always. And I'm glad we're able to clarify who you are in this story.
Yes, because that is most important.
But now you don't have to think about it anymore. I get confused. Now you're not confused anymore.
Yes.
Now you're confused anymore. Hope you're not confused. And thank you for joining us. Encourage you to come back next week as we continue through the parables. We'll be there for several more weeks, I imagine. And encourage you to join. We'd love to connect with you on a Sunday, whether it be online or in person. You can find out all about our services at thegrovechurch.org. You can go to our Connect page. There's a form you can fill out. Let us know any questions you have, any ways that we can help. We would love to hear from you. Again, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Cultivate podcast. Our hope is that you are taking steps to go deeper in your faith, that you are asking big questions and you're looking for answers. We hope that we can be a resource for you through our podcast and any other way that we can help you. You can find all our episodes anywhere that you can find podcasts, including YouTube. And again, thank you so much for joining us.